While the meta before the B patch seemed quite solved, one crazy Frenchman was at works, hard forcing the Gnar reroll and with quite some success. We are looking here at the match history from Gobosteur, who managed to even climb back to 1000 LP by pretty much hard forcing Gnar from every spot imaginable. Even if we do a search for Gnar in his match history, you can see just how many games this guy has played in the last couple of days of Gnar. And this set of bells for other pros as well, trying to dive into what really makes this comp work out. And quickly alluding to the changes in the B patch, giving you guys a short summary. The top ends of the Fast 9 comp on form of a Blitzcrank and Vex got a little hit, Zaya's base damage a little bit as well, whereas also the early game terrors in form of Talon and Zoe got their sims nerfed. Ezreal potentially opening up the reroll, Morgana made a little more valuable tank, as well as Asol brought up just that little bit in that mech form. Whereas on trade sides, the Arbiter Prince from Leona should be less prominent, as she was coming online constantly in the middle of stage 4 in form of 4-star. And weaker Stargazer constellations are being brought up, as well as Space Groove is buffed once again, so I will be on the lookout for potential VODs of that. Unfortunately, all of Gobosteur's VODs are locked behind a paywall. However, we have a chance to jump in game here with Greya, quite of a household name in the TFT Pro scene if you have been following that attentively. Very accomplished player, very fundamentally sound, currently at 1500 LP, and I believe this game is played exactly right after the B patch hit, so we should have a first-hand look at any potential power changes in the meta and see what other comps pros might be trying to explore and gouge their power levels. We are starting out with a Rod and a Glove. Our Gnar, if you noticed from the Gobosteur's match history, he definitely wants that Rage Blade to get some form of attack speed and that Infinity Edge, since his damage is mostly linked into that Boomerang. We are playing though here around here the Primordial opener, definitely still a good opener to be considering for any form of an econ generating source. Did that make that Briar too? So we're considering this to be an econ, potential econ opener in case we can make 10. Do sell that last second, that Poppy. So we are, but let's just quickly look at what we're holding on to. We are still holding on to potential for an AP since we saw a Rod, obviously. With that Leona, still want to see how well that Leona can print. Also, Lissandra being one of the prominent carries. Did not hold on to this Meepsy, what would link quite there. I'll perhaps sell this TF here for that Meepsy if we were quick enough. Otherwise, Timebreaker is also for an option of Veigar, obviously another unit that with this JG can tempo. So very fundamentally sound played early game. Encounter is 5 rerolls though, so perhaps we're considering a potential for a reroll, and we see this Exalted Adventure got buffed. I believe this is pretty much an insta-click, gets you away from the contesters, gives you a potential fun game to be playing around. Buried Treasure is something if you want to be going for. Definitely these early item slams got nerfed by one component, I believe. Therefore, you definitely want to be playing from a tempo spot. Living Forge has high potential upside. I believe this to be better than the Forged in strength. But you have to be vigilant if you have to know your carries, and there's few lines that can utilize these artifacts. Some of the reroll lines are enabled by them, and then you can just pick like generic tank ones afterwards if you don't find anything that would be synergizing quite well. Comeback Story unfortunately does not really have a line in this game right now. We do have something like a Warwick from the last set, and well, something like a Master Yi enjoys it. It's not that stable in the meta to really be playing into. At what cost? We do not have an extremely strong board to be playing around it, and we find the Exalted Adventure, Gnar and Pyke. Now this I believe to be extremely strong pairing. We have this Meepsy, another Meepsy came back again, and we... Is our Exalted Adventure perhaps even Gnar Pyke Meepsy? That is absolutely insane. Now, the thing with looking for this game as well is that whenever I was scouring any potential VODs we quite have, is that generally this comp going to be succeeding from any form of a tempo spot. Still not the strongest in the meta. We'll have to see still how the 2-cost reroll, for example, develops. If there's more rerolls, you have more chance of hitting early on. But with something that is strongly enabling this, such as the Exalted Adventure or the... what's the reroll augment? Treasure Hunt, there we go. That is something that you can also be considering playing around from this spot. We find these 3 Triumvirkers, so we're going to be going for an econ opener, trying to make as much gold as we can with this Exalted Adventure. Despite it giving dupes, we want to be hitting definitely around 4-1-4-2 and then capitalizing off that Radiant Factor cash out. And then going for a tempo from there. And Pyke is still an absolute unit to help you stabilize on stage 3. And I believe this Gnar has some potential if you're able to itemize him correctly. Otherwise, there were not that many games to be picking from. Therefore, we are going to be going with I just love these Exalted Adventure games myself, and it's going to analyze. It's going to play quite similarly what you'll be going to it. The general cap that we saw is going to be playing around some form of a Djinn cap and Bard cap as a potential for this comp. And I believe we still have a potential to make it in there, right? Especially if we hit this Pyke, he's just simply a Voyager there, and we do not really have to make use of the psionic item if we do not want to. Plus we have the potential to Shepherds as well, you know, we can get a Sona perhaps online. So there are quite interesting options we may be considering. Now we see a bow offered from Archael. This is simply going to be quite stronger than the parting gifts. This parting gifts is really just 2 gold, and I believe in our spot maybe another 3 gold if we are loose streaking. Yeah, we're loose streaking, so we have a 3 cost. So 5 gold versus a bow. Want to secure our components, and definitely can utilize these bows. He's going with the parting gifts instead. He's so heavily indexing on this econ that is quite surprising for me. That he simply wants to be evaluating. He's perhaps thinking, all right, we're going to be getting our items from this Exalted Adventure. The most of the cash outs in it are from for form of items, so I just want enough gold to ensure that I can hit. And we see there's also another player playing around Gnar. Is this on perhaps Greya's side? You can see he is streaming on the lowest settings as well, so perhaps maybe a little stutter from here or there, but nonetheless, we should still be able to very much learn from this game. Picking the Gnar too, so when we find another natural Gnar, so Gnar is definitely one of the possibilities to consider. Other ways we can approach this Exalted Adventure is, if you sometimes just get a combination that you cannot string together, you are still completely fine to keep the other 2 costs on the bench. Just 3-star whichever one you get, and then try to win out with some carry. Now this worked together well with something like, if you had a Zoe or Mordekaiser, you could go for Zoe Mordekaiser reroll, just get the other one 3-star, get the cash out, obviously roll for the other one as well while you're rolling for your 2 costs, and then make it out that way. We are able to successfully complete a 5 loss here. And yeah, it does seem that Greya has little streaming issues, but thankfully they haven't been too cumbersome for ourselves. And we are mapping out here what seems to be a 5 meeple board. Obviously this Pyke is going to nicely fit in together with these Voyagers for ourselves. Now we get our bow back, and perhaps simply also he did not pick the bow because we were going to get these component anvils, and right, obviously it's a little bit of a gamble sometimes to be just saying, okay, these anvils are going to net me the items exactly that I need, but it's a security, and we can see that he's finding the success of this augment to be to heavily tax on the econ side of things. Able to find that IE, able to find a stone plate, which should be a completely fine slam if we wanted to go for that. Transitions nicely onto that Rammus, and for now we can have whichever upgrade unit to be holding it. We see Sword Overflow. This is going to be a wild game with these prismatic augments coming out. Sword Overflow gives us immediately DB. The last slot with when you have Rage Blade and IE is just any form of the AD item, and Death Blade is the best one. Lucky Gloves would reduce our cap. We would need to spike and tempo right away. Same goes for Band of Thieves. We might even run out of item slots if we cash out this Exalted Adventure. Cannot make use of it. This is simply amazing. Since the Pyke can use it as well, we could go for a DB and a Eon perhaps, because Eon and IE, I believe that would be the build for ourselves for that Pyke. So let's see if he agrees. Going to be leveling to 6, trying to stabilize now. Definitely want to be winning the rest of the stage. Wanted to find some form of upgraded frontliner as well if we could. Find an early Mighty Mech, but is that going to be enough? This Mighty Mech has been quite suspicious at 1-star, especially when he's unmeched. Going to be going with the IE, and yeah, Eon, IE. That allows your Pyke to assassinate the backlines while remaining alive in case your frontline tank dies. If they retarget your... if they're going to be retargeting to the closest target, which is going to be that Pyke, and then he has that extra bit of safety. So we're going to be rolling with these Voyager's heals as a form of a pseudo frontline for now, and we're hoping that this other player is not chasing Gnar. As I said, there have been quite some other players a little hot in investigating how well this line can perform, but in this form of a caliber lobby, you should be, hey, I have Exalted Adventure, I'm going for this, you should be the one pivoting. Going for this open position so that the Pyke, especially in these earlier stages of the game, has, whenever players are not spreading out double corner carries, right, pretty much guaranteed to be jumping to whichever side if you middle him where they have their carries. and this spreading off the front line allows him to have a clear path as he's going to be walking up for our next god selection. Are we going to be heavily indexing on the Varus again? Now, since we're playing a reroll comp, we obviously want to be aligning ourselves with Varus to have that extra bit of HP. Divine Refund, we haven't opened Cloak, so we'll be relying on finding a chain. We do want to sort our frontline items out, so we want to definitely be rolling in with front items. If we find a chain, why I'm talking of chain, because if our cap is going to be Rammus, he loves those chain items, then we could just be slamming here the stone plate, and then also if we've hit a cloak, we are completely fine to be looking for something like an even shroud, right? Because we do not have that anti-armor just sorted out. Find a cloak, so I would assume this could become an even shroud. Could also, in the worst case, become something like a QSSS for our Pyke. Get a crit synergy, get some little bit of a CC immunity on him as well. Able to pick up an easy win here against the Fortune Strike player who's sacking for their cash out and seems to be going into that maybe the Quirky Riven line as well, since that can utilize quite a few of an artifacts and has the Rammus pair on the bench right there. Still going to be just slow rolling here. Find a Rammus pair. Are we close to anything? I missed. I don't think we're exactly close to anything. Just wanting to secure this 3 going into the next stage. We have the potential to hit Poppy too, but not going to be worth it to get further than this, as she's not definitely going, most likely not going to be making the difference. Able to pick up a close win here against Spencer, going for what might look like some form of a Master Yi board. Now we see there's a Quirky with a Lunan's Echo. There's another player perhaps handling Quirky Riven, so it's absolutely amazing that we have managed to pick up the 2 copies of the Rammus already. Going to be slowing them down, and hopefully that is going to be, you know, if you 2-star him, that's absolutely insane. We have an immediate transition, able to slot that Crown Guard on him right away. Best way we are going to be killing extra rods whenever we're playing this. Going to go for a roll down, and this is where we're going to be wanting to dig heavy so that we can hit. We have those 2 duplicators, we just need 1 more copy. Able to find it, able to get our 3 stars, but do not do it exactly in time to be able to cash out this our Radiant item. Looking for last item here on Pyke. Gunblade is going to have to suffice, some sort of maybe some more durability, but able to pick up an easy win here against the hedge fund player, sacking for a... Yeah, they are at a potential HP to 4-5 at here for Fast 9 board. Have to see how that works out. For our last augment, now we have items sorted. We pretty much have an econ, I believe. Well, we had to dig a little bit deep, so we're going to be sticking on this level for a while. We have it next in form of a Galio as well right away. Something like a Climb the Ladder could be potentially alright if you're going to be more indexing into this meeple. Did get buffed, but still has been underperforming. Salvage Bin, I'm not exactly sure if you're going to want to remake our items. Electro Charge is good in your heavy frontline comps, and Rammus, since he hasn't been still nerfed, can auto-utilize it quite decently, making him a decent frontline carry. He's going to default Climb the Ladder, going to value the pure stats for our meeples more. Cybernetic Uplink Gnar doesn't have mana. We do not really want that. Glass Cannon, though, has a potential to give us further damage jump. We are not currently running any sniper, so that damage jump is not going to be wasted. And even with 2 sniper only, it's alright. In my opinion, maybe worth an extra flip. He's going to say no. He's going to be fine with this, making that Radiant item, where Deathblade is obviously the best Radiant item from the options. Simply if you look at stats, this item is a little overstated. And we have a Golden Remover as well, so we have a possibility to maneuver this TG out around. This is quite neat. Can suit it for needs, have the potential for the Fizz to become a secondary carry, or have another tank. Trying to position in a way so that we can get these backline slaps, and exactly how it works out, this Pyke unit is an absolute monster. Able to secure an easy win against here, and now we are on a 6th streak due to that aggressive tempo rolling that we did. That is one key that sets apart a lot of better reroll players from the weaker ones, is that they identify that sometimes you just cannot be sitting at 50 gold all the time. Now, given for most stage he did, but sometimes you're fine to be rolling to 40, you're fine to be rolling to 30, especially if that's going to preserve your lives in the most crucial stage for you, which is stage 3, and you're going to be bouncing there. Sometimes you have to say, alright, my econ is not going to be sufficient to reach this max cap in form of a level 8 or level 9, whichever comp I'm playing, but you simply have to be winning rounds where you are supposed to be winning them. Going to be aligning ourselves with a Kale. Oh, this was quite of a pickup right here, right away. Super Parting Gift. They have to do something to let us to see Parting Gift 3 times. This is just a little bit of a rage bait at this point, and we can just simply pick up a cloak, can transition into something if you want to. Do not feel that we want the extra econ, even though we're playing a reroll. The virus would be quite nice. We have 6 reforgers due to the fact that we got the golden remover, so we can finish these components. We see that one Rammus 2 has been pulled out. There is the other player playing around Gnar was considering possibility of playing into the what seemed to be, fast 9 board right there. Do not opt to go for the slam of the striker's flail. Perhaps looking to improve our item situation. Oh, we need anti-heal. We need anti-heal, so we need to keep this belt open, which can transition into either form of an anti-heal items. Greatly spotted by him there, keeping those fundamentals in check. Now we are just going to be sitting here. We are still able to easily pick up wins. We are positioning quite nicely for this Pyke to access the backlines. And yeah, I'm doing back-to-back Pyke games, but hey, this unit deserves some love. A lot of players knew he was strong, but I see too few players playing around him, so hopefully this is going to induce some Pyke fever right here, as players are seeing how you can be best played around him. Able to get the position. The Pyke doesn't get us a jump immediately, but we are able to clear off. And this is a win-out player who has been sacking, perhaps looking for a potential triple econ right here. For ourselves, we're looking to something to complete this anti-heal with most likely. That's going to suffice. Do get offered the red buff? Are we going to consider that enough? Red buff, and then we have... Well, we ideally would be able to picking up 2 components, but are we going to be digging deep? Going to do so. Another TG and a Morello's. Going to value that enough, especially with the golden remover. We're seeing another glove. Perhaps we're just utilizing these back into Rod, utilizing these reforgers to see a potential for a chain. Nonetheless, use them all. Got trolled by Mordog. Rod back into a Rod. Have to suffice with this Morello. Is going to be fine. And now that we have this golden remover, we're able to finesse these TGs the best we possibly want. Against the Radiant Master Yi here with the golden gamble against Spencer, who has been also tempering all the way in this. He does get to our backline, but thankfully she does target on the Rammus, so that buys enough time for us to clear off the board. And you can see, obviously we have the item advantage here from Exalted Adventure, but the Pyke unit should still deserve some love. Able to pick up a Jin here, so we're nicely able to tie this together with a Karma. This is how we're going to be approaching our board. For the next level, we are fine to be dropping this Fizz for something like a Bard, and then you can also, for example, run 2 Conduit with the Mordekaiser. Vanguardless Mordekaiser is fine, and you are also able to perhaps transition into Shent Caps. We do not exactly have the most data on this comp just yet, despite the Gobosteurs' efforts. He was quite rigid in his forcing. Therefore, I'm unable to make a cheat sheet just yet, but going to be looking out on the lookout whenever we are going to have a little more data on it. And perhaps the B patch is going to be opening up more potential 2-cost reroll lines for ourselves. But this should also fall in a little bit more favor in that case. So now we see there's also the standard Vanguard Shepherd Fast 9 board. So let's see how we fare. This is the more of a Fast 9 around the Vex board. Has managed to stabilize, so let's see. It's only Vex 1. So this is a good test for ourselves. And the Pyke jumps onto the backline. I mean, Gnar is doing the chunk of damage, right? We are still able to position a Gnar in a way where his boomerang is able to do the most amount of damage, right? If he is able to get in there, his boomerang is going to obviously have the little AoE, and we were on the same side, so we're able to clear, nicely chip off all these clumps right here. Morello on the Jin is completely fine since he's able to spread it quite neatly. Spear of Shojin. Jin is, well, gets him to the cast early. I guess that Morello application is going to be fine. But now we do get run over by this Master Yi, so it seems that we do not want to be on the same side as the Master Yi. They have the Theora too as well, so they have immense power in themselves. But now we're able to go for our level 9 Pyke. Go hit that interval. Going to be slotting in, it seems, Rast for now. That is also fine. We really do want to secure that Rammus too. Unfortunately, unfortunately, find that Jin 2 first. Now there's this Gorky Riven player here. The Riven is an interesting path right now, but we jump to their backline. This seems to be the meta take off the enemy carries, and Pyke is, even though he only did 3000 damage, he did some of the most valuable damage on that fight. But nonetheless, this one to index, this Gnar has potential still, right? You can see the insane damage numbers this Gnar is putting up. So Gobosteur has been onto something here, right? He has been exploring, he has been seeing that there is a potential in this unit, and now that the top ends of some other comms got brought down, I would definitely give it a shot if you're given a spot to try it out. Unfortunately, the pros do not have that many public games of it just yet. So yeah, we're slotting in this Bard right now. For ourselves, he's going to be a decent Morello. Hold on, do not get it exactly on time, so I have to slot this DB on the Bard for the... And I mean, we're playing at 1500 LP. I would assume that these players would be very aware of this Pyke in their pool. They would be trying to position around him. And we're not doing that many shenanigans in form of a last second swaps either. So if they're able to pull this off in their own games, you should be able to pull this off in your own games. Simply move the Pyke whichever way it's a little bit to be protecting. Now we have the Vex in the middle, so thankfully this Pyke is not going to be able to... He still finds a way. He still walks there and just teleports through the resetting blitz. Yeah, pathing in this set has been a little weird, but it's an easy win up for ourselves. Still, the Gnar putting in a chunk of work, taking out these frontliners, facing that Fiora there and getting an easy win for ourselves. And now we are on 1v1. We have the item advantage. Let's see how we fare against this fearsome Fast 9 comp. They have the artifacts on their side as well. So definitely, it's not like we are in a huge item advantage. So let's see. Now they have tried to corner the Vex in some form of way to protect her. Pyke still finds a way. Gnar is clearing up the front line and we are able to pick up a win. As I said, if they're able to get away with this in their games, you should be as well. You can simply position to counter it, put bait units in the other corners, and then simply you can middle your carry, and the Pyke hopefully shouldn't be, as he jumps to the furthest target, should be able to have to bounce between some of the units, protect your carry some form of a way. But nonetheless, you can see, we're quickly just checking the damage to indicate, you can see this Gnar's Boomerang is doing a lot of work, able to clear up the front lines together now with the Jintu as well, and is gaining a lot of damage done. Amazing to see another 2-cost roll emerging in the meta. We indexed heavily on the econ side of things so that we can be securing our spike on 4142. With this Exalted Adventure, then capitalizing on the cash out in the form of Radiant item and those 3-star 2 costs in order to make our way to level 9 and simply for a win out from there, where again, with masterful positioning against some of the better players on the NA region, we are still able to catch them in their clumsiness and secure ourselves a first place. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.